y'all, and welcome to a Crazy Sock Lady tutorial. In today's video, I am going to be showing you how I weave in my ends as I go when knitting in the round. This method can be used flat as well, but I'm going to show you my little tip for making sure that you are not left with any gaps when you are doing color changes, so that you can weave in both of those ends that you'll have at the point where you change colors. And you can use this on any sock, Scrappy Socks especially, so that you're not left with all of those ends when you are done knitting. So let's dive right in and I will show you. I've got a sock started here. I just recorded a tutorial for how to do my pop of color at the cuff. So I will have that linked here and you can find it in the tutorial playlist as well. And then I finished knitting my cuff. This is, you'll notice it's a little bit shorter of a cuff than I normally do. I'm working on a pair of socks here for my niece. So they're a little bit smaller than I would normally do for socks for myself. So I am ready to start the next color. I'm going to be doing Scrappy Stripy Socks. There's going to be a rainbow down the leg. So my first color, I'm going to start with this red here. So first thing is I just need to cut my contrast color, leave a long enough tail there, just like you would if you were weaving in your end normally. And I will link my project page for these socks just so you'll have any yarn information that you may want. That'll be linked below the video. Okay, so I have one more stitch here that I just need to purl from my ribbing. I always do that if I have to set my sock down so that my beginning of round marker does not fall out. Then we are ready to add in this new color. So this is how I join any yarn when I'm changing colors. Just get a loop there, leaving a long tail. Put your needle in as if to knit. Slide that loop on there, pull it through. I always get asked how I change colors. That is literally it. I just make sure I leave a tail there long enough to weave in. Okay, so weaving in my ends as I go. I've done one stitch in the new color. I am not going to weave in the end for the new color yet. Don't touch it. This is where you're going to help avoid a gap. The new color, do not weave it in on this round. You are grabbing the old color that you worked with, that you just cut, and we're going to weave this in only on this round. So we have our new color ready to go. We're going to take the old color and we are just going to wrap it around the new color and then knit our next stitch. And we're just going to keep repeating this. Put the needle in as if to knit, take the old color, wrap it around the new color, and knit. Now I've done this on as few as 8 stitches and it's been perfectly fine. Typically I feel like I'll do anywhere from like 10 to 12. Sometimes I'll just forget to count how many stitches I've done and just keep going until there's no tail left at all. It is really up to you. I would not do any fewer than 8 though. I would recommend doing at the very minimum 8 stitches like this. So I am going to continue knitting this round and go until you are 1 stitch before your beginning of round marker. Leave 1 stitch unworked. Meet me back here and I'll show you my tip for avoiding any gaps at your join there. Okay, I am back. I've worked around until 1 stitch before my beginning of round marker. So on this last stitch is when we are going to start weaving in the end for this new color that we just knit this round with. Before, when I would try to do this method and do it just from over here with a new color, there would always be a gap here. So I found that if you go back to this one stitch before the marker. It helps pull that tighter and close up any gaps there. I have not had an issue since. So you're going to grab the tail of the yarn that you're currently working with, wrap it around, and knit that last stitch of the round. Slip your marker, and then you are going to just continue on as you were before, knitting each stitch. And wrapping it each time. Like I said, for as little as 8 stitches. I typically do more than that, but I would not recommend doing any fewer than 8. So that is my method for weaving in my ends as I go. This method I originally learned from Stephen West, the Weave and Steven method, and then I just kind of altered it and tweaked things to figure out what worked best for when I was doing my socks in the round, because that's what I knit the most. So when it comes to where I use this method the most, it is in socks. So I just had to make a few changes to make things work for in the round and to close up any gaps that would form there. As you can see here on this sock that I've done, there are no gaps, no holes. Right along there is where they were joined, and it does not leave any issues. That is how I weave in my ends on all of my socks. Now you'll see here I still have my tail end from where I started. I weave those in just like I've always done my ends. As far as when it comes to this one, if I'm changing colors at the heel, I do not like to do the Weave and Steven. It can just get a little tricky there. So instead I just weave those ends and then my end from Kitchener-ing in as normal. But when I'm doing stripes or just changing a color for the pop of color or after the cuff, that is when I like to use this method. So I hope that this video was helpful and gives you a way to, if you're someone who really just hates weaving in all those ends and you really want to dive into Scrappy Socks and give them a try, see if this works for you. I think you will absolutely love it. I will see y'all again on the next tutorial. Until then, happy knitting. Bye.